Happy morning, children. I feel extremely delighted to welcome you all for this wonderful online learning. And we are going to start our Unit 9, Plant Ecology, Chapter 8, Environmental Issues. In the last class, we discussed about the various ecosystem. And in this lesson, we will be discussing about various issues that cause drastic effect in the environment. We'll look into some of the topics in detail. Hope you will enjoy learning and you will gain knowledge about our environment. The topics would be greenhouse effect, ozone depletion, forestry, deforestation, afforestation, agrochemicals and their effects, alien invasive species, conservation, carbon capture and storage, that is CCS, rainwater harvesting, sewage disposal, environmental impact assessment. So these are the topics we will learn in detail in this lesson. To begin with, our earth as gases, the major gases present are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen, which is in the combination of NH3, CFC and CO2, carbon, fluorocarbon. So these are the gases. So greenhouse effect is a process by which radiant heat from sun is captured by the gases in the atmosphere. As a result, it increases the temperature. So the atmospheric gas is polluted due to various pollutants. This pollutant absorb the solar radiation. As a result, temperature is increased. This is what we call it as greenhouse effect. The various gases are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide and chlorofluorocarbon. Let's look into the effect that is caused due to this heating. Okay, burning of fossil fuel is a reason for increasing greenhouse effect, and way of agriculture and animal husbandry practices, electric gadgets like refrigerator, air conditioner which emits chlorofluorocarbon, and fertilizers used in agriculture, mainly nitrous oxide, and emissions of gases from the automobiles. These are the major polluting gases which increase greenhouse effect done by human. We call this increase in temperature as global warming. Let's see what are the effects. Okay, you will have a rise in global temperature. As a result, the ice caps or glaciers in the polar region starts to melt, and there is drastic change in weather pattern, and more of flood and drought will result. And you will have a modified or refined species in tropic and subtropic may face the problem of decreased fruit productions. Not only that, it also causes effects in the plants. Low agriculture productivity takes place, frequent heat wave takes place, increase of vectors and epidemics, strong storms and intense food damage occurs, water crisis, change in flowering seasons, change in species distribution and species extinction takes place in plants. Very important thing of global warming effect is ozone depletion. Ozone layer is a region in the atmosphere which absorbs sun's ultraviolet radiation. We call that layer as the ozone shield. It acts as a protective shield cutting the ultraviolet radiation. When this atmosphere is completely depicted by the pollutant, the ozone layer decreases in its thickness. We call that as the ozone depletion. There are two types of ozone. One is bad ozone, the other one is good ozone. The ozone layer of the troposphere is called bad, and the ozone layer in the stratosphere is called the good ozone layer. This increases the entry of ultraviolet radiation into our earth. As a result, it causes many effects. Let's see the effects. Increase incidence of cataracts, eye problem, throat and lung irritation, aggravation of asthma, emphysema, skin cancer, diminishing the function of immune system, juvenile mortality of animals, increased incidence of mutation. So apart from that, you have many other effects of the ozone depletion also. How to overcome these environmental issues? The first one would be agroforestry, that is growing of agricultural lands combined with the forestry, that is trees around the field. Like the benefits are, it is the answer to problem of soil and water conservation. It stabilizes the soil salinity and water table, reduces landslide and water runoff problem. Okay, so when we plant trees around the field, these are the problems we can solve. And nutrient recycling between species improves and organic matter is maintained. Trees provide microclimate for crops and maintain carbon dioxide and oxygen balance. Atmospheric temperature and relative humidity is also maintained. And suitable for dry land where rainfall is minimum, and hence it is good system for alternate land use pattern. So these are some of the benefits of agroforestry. Multi-purpose tree variety like acacia and used for wood pulp, tanning, paper and firewood industries. Agroforestry is recommended for the following purposes. It can be used as farm forestry for the extension of the forest, mixed forestry, shelter belt and linear strip plantation. The next thing would be social forestry. It's also very important management of forests by local communities with the goal of climate carbon sequestration, change mitigation, depollution, deforestation, forest restoration and providing indirect employment opportunity for the youth. So social forestry refers to management of forest and afforestation on barren land with the purpose of helping the environment, social and rural development. Every village, they will have their own forest. This is called social forestry for the benefit of the particular village. The next thing is deforestation, that is cutting off the trees. It is one of the major contribution to enhance greenhouse effect and global warming. Conversion of forested area into non-forest area is called deforestation. In very simple words, we can say cutting off the tree for timber, paper, medicine and industrial products where the trees are removed. So this leads to the drastic environmental changes. Afforestation, it is planting of trees where there is no previous tree coverage and the conversion of non-forest land into forest by planting suitable trees or vegetation. This is called as afforestation. So deforestation is removing of the trees and afforestation is converting the barren land into a forest. This makes it's very much used for the environmental problems. Let's look into some of the achievements of this afforestation. Degraded forests were restored, the destroyed ones are restored again. Community assets like tank, borewells, hand pumps, community halls, library were established. Environmental and ecological stability was maintained. Conserved biodiversity, wildlife and genetic resources have been required. Involvement of community, especially women in forest management. These are the things which are done in the forestation. The next topic would be invasive species. That is a non-native species to the ecosystem or country under consideration that spreads naturally, interferes with the biology and existence of the native species, poses a serious threat to the ecosystem and causes economic losses. This is called invasive species. That plant is not the original plant of that place, but it has come from other country causing ecosystem threat and economic losses. It is established that a number of invasive species are accidental through port via air or sea. Some research organizations import germplasm or wild animals through which Also, it gets introduced. Alien species with edible fruits are usually spread by the birds. So, this is how new species enter into a place. We have to conserve the already heritage that is present. It is a topographic, geographic, climatically diverse pattern you can find in India. And conserving all this is very important. So we need to conserve them by germplasm conservation, in situ, ex situ, in vitro, epidemic, all types of methods. Let's see the types of conservation. One is in situ protected area network, and ex situ is sacred places like home garden, seed banks, pollen seeds like places, and ex situ is botanical garden. And in a protected area network, community protected, government protected. Community protected is sacred groves, sacred lakes. And government protected area, biosphere reservoirs, national park, wildlife sanctuary. It may be most territorial or marine. So this is how the plants are conserved. There is a special association for this. In 1948, the International Union of Conservation of Nature, IUCN, is the world's oldest environmental organization with its headquarters at Gland, Switzerland. It is a neutral forum for governments, and this is employed with developing solutions and implementing policies related to conservation of environment and sustainable development. You can find the various categories. We call it as red list categories, and based upon these categories, the plants or animals are considered and what level they come across, and what is the intensity that is needed in conserving of the plants. So this is a catalog for the conservation of plants given by IUCN. CCS, it's called carbon capture storage, is a technology of capturing carbon dioxide and inject it deep into the underground rocks into a depth of 1 kilometer or more, and it is an approach to mitigate global warming by capturing carbon dioxide from large point source such as industries and power plants and sequential storage. Okay, this is what we call it as CCS. It's a method to detect the global warming, how much of carbon is liberated. Carbon sink, any system having the capacity to accumulate more atmospheric carbon during a given time interval, then releasing carbon dioxide. It captures but it does not release, then it is called the carbon sink. Example, forest, soil, oceans or natural sinks, landfills or artificial sinks. Carbon sequestration, it is a process of capturing and storing CO2 which reduce the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere with the goal of reducing global climate condition. Okay, it reduces the global climate example it's given. So microalgae such as species of chlorella, Cnidamus, Coccus and Chlamydomonas are used globally for carbon dioxide sequestration. Trees like Eugenia caryophyllae, Trichomia, Chinchonavarum have high capacity and noted to sequester carbon. Microalgae and marine algae and mangroves are also having that character. Mangroves or ability to mitigate. The next one is biothermal. It is another long-term method to store carbon. We had carbon sink, carbon sequestration, and now it is carbon tar. It is a method to store the carbon to increase plant ability to store more carbon. Plants are partly burned such as crops waste, waste woods to become carbon rich, slow decomposing material. So biotar is a kind of charcoal used as a soil amendment. So biotar is a stable solid rich in carbon and can endure in soil for thousands of years. So this is what we call as the biotar. Next, we are going to move into another very important topic, familiar topic, rainwater harvesting. It is a solution to water crisis. That is one of an ecological problem, is environmental problem. Here you can find a house where waters from the rain is collected in a well. So the well water is directly, see you can find a tank near a tree. This tree collects all the water from the house and it is stored and it is connected to a syntax pipe. And from there the water is taken for the drinking purpose. This is one type of carrying. The another one you can find a well. So water is directly transferred to the well. From the well the water is taken away. So any water conservation, preservation from the rain is called a rainwater harvesting, and it can be done as the methods that is adapted to our living place according to our house and environment. So this is two methods of water collection is given over here. This is another type of water harvesting you can see in multi-storied apartments. One is you can directly collect it in the terrace. The other is that terraced collected rainwater is taken down to a pit or a well through the pipes. You can see the red color pipes running on the multi-storied buildings, and they collect the water and store it in the underground pit where filtration takes place. We call it as a succession tank. After the succession, the material settles down. It is collected in the collecting tank. From the collecting tank, the water is transferred to the water storage tank, and from the water storage tank, the water is circulated to all parts of the multi-storied building. So this is called rainwater harvesting and water supply structure. How the water is stored, transmitted, transferred to different places. Let's look into the benefits of this harvest. Promotes adequate of underground water and water conservation. Mitigates the effect of drought, reduces the erosion as surface runoff is reduced, reduces food hazards, improves groundwater quality. No land is wasted for storage purpose, and storing water underground is an eco-friendly measure, and it is a part of sustainable water storage strategy for local communities. The next environmental problem would be sewage disposal. Treatment helps to transfer raw sewage into an easier manageable waste and to retrieve and reuse treated residual sewage materials. Greenhouse gases are produced during sewage treatment, which apart from causing the impact of environment, it also affects the urban ecosystem. So we have to treat the sewage that is excreted by the human population. That is what we are going to see now. You can find the plant given over here, primary treatment and secondary treatment. In primary treatment, the raw sewage through the sump is collected and it is screened and it is comminuted and grit chambered, where the grit is disposed and the liquid alone is transferred to the primary clarifier. From there, it is transferred to the primary effluent to the aeration tank, and the waste material is settled down, which we call it as a primary sludge. Okay, this is what is happening in the primary treatment. Now, this primary effluent enters into the aeration tank. From there, it moves to the secondary clarifier, and in the secondary clarifier, secondary effluent is produced, and this is discharged to the surface water for the tertiary treatment if needed. And this primary sludge is there, and where the secondary clarifier is done, no activated sludge comes and both of them combined and it is returned down for the dispersals. Treating of sewage is a very important process which has to be done for the healthy environmental functioning, and this is done by the primary and secondary, and the secondary solution is added with the disinfectants to kill out all the microorganisms. And the next thing is disposing solid waste. We'll see how the solid waste are transferred, that is sanitary landfills. You can find there the land is there which is digged up, and into that you will fill up all the waste materials such that they don't enter into the groundwater level. Okay, you can find in the picture electricity generated building, methane storage compressor building which secretes all the waste material. This cannot be directly drawn into the water source, but it is buried in the empty land which we call it as the landfills. And you can also find the leaching monitoring well, and all these waste which cannot be contaminated with the environment are stored in the sanitary landfills, and it's protecting our environment. To monitor this, we have environmental impact assessment which we call it as EIA. It is a tool which helps in regulating and recommending optional use of natural resources with minimum impact on ecology and biotic communities. Okay, it is to predict the pollutant content in our environment. Another tool is biomonitoring. It acts of observing and monitoring the current state of ongoing changes in ecosystem, and this can be done by agricultural drones. You can see a drone in the picture. This drone flies over the agricultural area and find out what are the activities that is taking place. If any animal is in the agriculture field causing damage to them, can be monitored. So this biomonitor is very useful for the farmers, where we can sort out the difficulties immediately. The next topic would be remote sensing. It is a process of detecting, monitoring the physical characteristics of the area by measuring its reflected and emitted radiations at a distance from a targeted area. See, biomonitoring, we are going to monitor the physical activities like animal or insects entering into it. But in remote sensing, we are going to monitor the rays. Any rays is just falling into the field. So those data about the pollutant, about the gases, they will be monitored, detected, and what pattern of infections they are causing, all those will be studied by the remote sensing. It is a tool to diagnose, to detect and monitor the changes by the emitted radiations. This can be mostly done by the satellite. So we should know the different types of satellites here. SATSAT-1, September 2016, it is used for weather forecasting, cyclone prediction and tracking services in India. INSAT-3DR, September 2016, for disaster management. And CARSAT-2, January 18, 2018, for Earth observation. And GSAT-6A, that is for communication. CARSAT-2, it is to watch broader surveillances. So these are the various activities that is done by the satellite for the protection of the plants. Children, I hope you all enjoyed learning this. Go to your evaluation and try to find out the answers and write in your notebook.